You couldn't get a cab?
No way, there's the Hulk.
Hey, where are you guys going?
They're going to McDonald's, where you can find 8 of the greatest superheroes. Because with every hamburger Happy Meal you buy for $1.99, your kids get a superhero action toy. Like the Invisible Woman or the web-whipping Spider-Man. One with each Marvel superhero's Happy Meal you buy.
Look, the Invisible Woman.
Have you had your break today?
Huh. I didn't see her on the bus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Slimeade podcast. How we all doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Right.
I'm doing pretty good.
Wait, well, who the fuck is that guy?
Who?
Yeah. Who are
It's
you?
me, Derek.
Who's Derek? I've never heard of you before.
Yeah, you have. I'm the guy that kicks your ass.
Oh, that guy.
You guys are so cool.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm in the Creepypasta movie. Yeah, the one that sings "Big Booty Bitches." Big booty bitches, big booty bitches.
On today's podcast, we are going to be discussing all things related to Marvel.
Boo.
Yeah.
I kind of agree.
It's a love-hate thing for me.
I just genuinely hate it at this point.
I think we might all have some mixed feelings about Marvel. So I want to start this off on a positive note, hopefully. Maybe this is a good way to start. Kind of like, what's your introduction to the world of Marvel? Kind of like what got you, what kind of introduced you to this stuff, I guess.
Spider-Man.
Okay.
When I was a kid, mm-hmm. and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies were coming out, every summer for my birthday, my dad would take me to the movies. And we watched all of the Spider-Man movies. I can't remember because it was like every other year. I don't know what we watched in between, but all I can remember is that we would watch the Spider-Man movies. And I have always loved Spider-Man because of that. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man brought me into Marvel.
I think for me, it was the X-Men movies. Because I had very little interest in anything Marvel related prior to that. I think Batman was the only comic book superhero that I had any interest in as a kid. And then when I was a little bit older, I saw the first X-Men movie, and that just, everything kind of clicked with that.
Was there Marvel branding on the X-Men movies?
I mean, there's the Marvel logo at the beginning, like the comic.
Yeah, I guess there was. It doesn't compute in my head for some reason. I know it's there now, but it just feels like I never thought of X-Men as Marvel, even though yes, they are Marvel. Like as a kid, I know now.
Yeah, I mean, when I was very young, there was the X-Men cartoon, which seems like all of my peers were very into. But like I said, I was into Batman. I didn't really have any interest in any other. Like I knew there was cartoons of X-Men, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and a bunch of other stuff. As a kid, I only really cared about Batman. If we do a DC episode, we can get more into that, I guess.
Ew.
I have a funny Batman story.
Yeah, if I have to say, if I had to pick one, the MCU or DC, it'd probably be MCU. I'd rather just not pick either of them, to be honest.
My favorite DC character is Ezra Miller's Flash.
I forgot he was Flash.
I believe most people did.
Yeah, because he got one movie and then he went on a bender.
So Brandon, how did you get introduced to Marvel?
So I actually got introduced through the X-Men cartoon. I believe that's what I saw first. It was either that or the film. But right off, I can't remember which one would have been the original that I saw.
Like the 90s cartoon or the one they did in the 2000s?
It might have been the 2000s cartoon, the one with Spike and all them. I forget the rest of their names in the 2000s cartoon. It definitely wasn't the 90s one.
Okay, yeah.
Now that I'm looking.
Yeah, like when I was in elementary school, that was like what all the kids my age were into was the 90s cartoon. And then the 2000s cartoon came out after the movies started to get big. And I do remember regularly watching the 2000 X-Men Evolution is what it was called.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, and
which it looks like it came out the same year.
Okay, nice. And after I got into the movies, then I sort of went back and started checking out the cartoon. I basically got into everything X-Men related. Like I said, I kind of went through a Marvel phase in general, but X-Men was like my main one that I obsessed over the most.
I never, as like a kid, got into X-Men. I would say as a teenager, I definitely did. When did the movies come out?
It
Because
started
I'm
in
trying to-
2000.
Like, I know that I watched the X-Men movies before the Spider-Man movie came out, I believe. I like I said, it never really in my head clicked that it was X-Men. X-Men was Marvel.
Well, to be fair,
I was a
most
stupid kid.
of Marvel does suck compared to them.
Oh, I love the
X-Men
X-Men.
slap.
When did the Spider-Man movie come out?
2002?
I know it was really close to 9/11 because they had to change the teaser trailer because of that.
Oh, because he
Yeah, the
flew
Green
the planes
Goblin.
into the towers.
Yeah.
I
See, beat me to it.
I was so young couldn't even remember that, but it does make sense.
The movie came out in 2002.
So here's an interesting question. Actually, Derek, did you say kind of your introduction to Marvel? I don't know if we talked about that.
Not yet, but it's kind of, I just kind of realized, because what I thought also was like with Dan's, like I thought my first introduction was like Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, because I've also played like the Spider-Man games, and I know there's the kind of like the arcade game with X-Men.
Did you ever play the really shitty Spider-Man like PlayStation 2 game? You couldn't touch the ground.
I
You
believe
had
that
to
was the
swing a
first
lot.
one.
Yeah, that was the one I played first. That one.
That was such a bad game.
It was an interesting experience, but I kind of realized my first introduction was Blade.
Oh.
Oh,
You know
hell
what?
yeah.
Yeah, the Blade
I think
is
Blade-
my first.
Okay, so Blade, it is based on a Marvel property, but that one definitely wasn't marketed as like a Marvel movie or whatever. I think that was actually the first Marvel-based movie that was successful, because there was a bunch of stuff
Man.
before that nobody talks about. But
There was
We
a
got
really
Wesley
bad
Snipes.
What?
Fantastic Four film
The
that
90s
really
one?
just sucked in the night. Yeah.
Have you seen the '90s one?
I've seen bits and pieces of it when I was a kid.
I think I've seen either concept stuff or actual prosthesis or prosthetics for what they did for The Thing,
Yeah.
and it looks horrible.
No, it doesn't.
I thought it did. I'm gonna have to look it up again.
You can find bootleg copies of the 90s Fantastic Four movie. And yes, it was very low budget. It was basically, they got Roger Corman to produce the film, who is famous for making movies very cheap and very fast. And apparently they only did that so they could like make a movie so they could retain the rights or some weird thing like that.
Yeah, they wanted to keep it.
But
So I'm looking at a picture of The Thing from the 1994 Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
His head looks like a penis. There's like a ridge. It's supposed to be a brow ridge,
yeah.
but they kind of continue it fully around the head. Like, I don't think it goes fully like to the back. You can see like from the front, you can see kind of the sides a little bit, and it looks like it goes all the way around, and it makes his head look like a penis.
I was actually going to say, based on the different movie versions of Thing we have so far, I recall the 90s one actually being the most comic book accurate.
I've never seen it. Is it actually worth watching?
Yeah, okay, so here's my opinion of it. I think it is worth watching. It's a fun movie. It's not like a modern Marvel movie where everything has to be over serious. It's more lighthearted. It does have some very cheap special effects in certain parts, because mainly the CGI. To say it didn't age well would imply that it was fresh when it was released. So yeah, the CGI is really bad, but you just kind of have to, you also have to get in the mindset, this movie was never meant to be released. It was just meant to retain the rights. And considering that, I mean, it's better than the one they did in 2004 by a long shot. And I'm going to stand by that.
I would argue that it has the potential to be better than the one that they like. Not the one that has Pedro Pascal, because I haven't seen that one. But the one before it with the Miles Teller guy.
Oh yeah, the like 20 or the
I think Michael B.
2010s
Jordan
one.
was in it too. Who else? Who played Sue Storm?
I think Anna Kendrick or whatever her name is.
Yeah. And then I don't know who was the other who played Mr. Fantastic? Miles Teller played Mr. Fantastic, didn't he? So who played the Thing? Because I think Michael B. Jordan is whatever Johnny Pyrotechnics. I don't know his name.
Johnny Storm.
Oh yeah, they're brother and sister, aren't they?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So when do we think they're going to make a good Fantastic Four movie?
Right
When
now, aren't they? That's supposed to be
Yeah.
in the 60s.
I think they've already made it, but I don't know. Like it kind of sounds cool, but I don't know how I feel about that. Like if it will be good, because
Like-
none of them have been really good, really.
Yeah, like just kind of from my understanding, I haven't seen all of the Fantastic Four movies to date, but I saw the 90s one. It's a very fun movie, but it is like very cheap and kind of slapped together. Then you have the 2004 movie, which is like they don't really do any superhero shit until the very end, and it's very underwhelming. And then they did a sequel to that, which I didn't see, so I can't comment on the one, the Silver Surfer.
I think I liked that movie. It's been forever since I watched it, so I may hate it now. But I did not hate the sequel to the 2004 Fantastic Four movie.
I guess
I would not say either of those movies are good movies or great movies, but they're definitely movies that I'll watch.
And then there was the other one that came out. Was it 2014 or somewhere around there?
15.
Yeah, that's the 2015 one.
Okay, 2015. Again, I haven't seen this one, but I heard that instead of just being a superhero movie, they made it into like a weird, almost like a body horror film.
I mean, that's at least a new direction to take things.
But you know what? If they haven't hit the nail on the head with the Fantastic Four yet, maybe it's not time to start going in weird new directions. Like just like the thing, because like I've read some of the comic books from like the 60s, and they're good. I enjoy them, and I'm just thinking there's no reason that this should not work in film. Like it's not like it's a complicated idea or anything. It's just they have superpowers. They fight a big monster or a villain or whatever. It's nothing like there's no reason other than just incompetence that they can't get this right. Except the 90s movie kind of did get it right. It was just really low budget.
Who made did Sony have Fantastic Four?
It was either,
I don't know.
Like
think
back
it was
then,
Fox. Did Fox? I think Fox had Fantastic Four.
all I know is that Fantastic Four, I think, because I believe, and I want to say I think I'm correct. The 2015 movie was also kind of a we want to keep the rights movie.
Yes.
I think it was Fox that had it because I believe in whatever Marvel Scarlet Witch movie, they showed an alternate world where I guess all the Fox franchises try to attack her or something. I've not seen the movie, but I know that I've heard about that clip.
They all die. It's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Is that the one where John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah,
Oh, I've seen his death.
because I'm looking at it. The new Fantastic Four movie's coming out this year in July.
We should not go see it.
Oh, I was
Oh,
way
yeah.
ahead of you. I only know that it's coming out because I am just looking at it right now.
He had already decided not to go see it. You don't have to tell him.
Yeah, anything Marvel, I'm just like, I'm good.
I'm
I had so many hopes that it would keep good, but are we gonna get into our dislike of Marvel? Because we never really pivoted away from the like introduction. I guess we pivoted into Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I was gonna get in because we were talking about like the rights holding and who has the rights to this
Yeah.
and that. I did want to mention it's interesting in the early 2000s. I guess Stan Lee was selling the rights because Marvel, I guess, was not doing great financially at the time. So they were just starting to sell the rights
Excelsior.
of their biggest comic books to all these different companies. So like Fox got X-Men and Fantastic Four, Sony got Spider-Man, and then a bunch of other ones got sold to various places as well. So all of their biggest titles, the rights were kind of spread out from different companies. And then because of that, because these companies started making these big movies based on it, Marvel started kind of escalating in popularity in the mainstream, which eventually led to the MCU getting started. But the problem was that the MCU did not have the rights to the biggest Marvel comics at the time. So they couldn't do X-Men or Spider-Man or the Hulk. So they had to start using characters that nobody unless you're a comic book fan, had ever heard of.
Who made the original Hulk movie, the one with Edward Norton? I
Was
thought
that
that was
Fox
the
as
first
well?
Marvel
That's
movie.
The one with Edward Norton is the MCU movie.
Yeah, I thought that was the first. You said they couldn't use the Hulk.
I think there was a 2003 Hulk movie that they made first. And I think that was such a failure that they didn't bother holding on the rights. That's just me assuming. So maybe
There was a 2003 Hulk movie,
Yeah.
63% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it was, I saw that one. That one was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I think
movies
I've seen
that's-
this as well.
It's one of those movies that's starting to get reevaluated. It's good actually. So maybe I need to rewatch it. But I saw it at the drive-in theater and I was very underwhelmed. As a child, at least.
Oh, that's where I saw it too.
Oh hell yeah! Maybe we saw it the same night.
Probably not.
Were you
Yeah, fuck you, Tiernan.
instead? It's not yes and it's no but.
Well, I guess I'll say why. It's because I went to go see it in probably a different city.
You just don't lie. You just didn't want to be associated with Tiernan as a child.
You got me.
So, one movie that I wanted to bring up because I'm curious what everybody's feelings are, if you even saw it, because this is one of the pre-MCU movies that I was really obsessed with, only to grow up and find out everybody hates it. So I want to know, what is everybody's thoughts on the Ben Affleck Daredevil?
I enjoyed it as a child.
So did I.
I've not watched it recently, so
Yeah, same here.
I mean, it's got that wicked cool song in it.
The Evanescence song.
Oh, Evanescence.
Yeah, the Evanescence song.
Little gay boy me may or may not have had a mega crush on Ben Affleck in this movie.
When we do the DC episode, we can get into things that affected little gay boy me, but we can't talk about that right now.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And little gay boy me also was affected by that.
And it's kind of interesting. Daredevil was one of those characters that I had never really heard of before. You know, I was introduced to the character through the movie, and even though everybody seems to hate that movie, I thought it was really awesome, and I kind of got really obsessed with Daredevil for a period. I would probably, even though I'm not a huge Marvel fanatic, I would probably put Daredevil in maybe my top 5 favorite Marvel superheroes. And it has a lot to do with that movie.
I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've seen that movie. Probably since it's been released from the theater. That's probably the last time I remember watching it.
I'm going to have to make a point to rewatch it. And then by the time we do the next podcast episode, I'll just give a quick recap of what I think about it.
and
Yeah, 'cause-
and then you can provide a defense on why it's a 10 out of 10. Perfect movie.
I will say, I probably have watched it quite a bit more than most of us. Maybe not you, Tiernan.
Yeah.
The whole crush on Ben Affleck. I think the last time I watched it was when I was 15 or 16, though.
I kind of I don't even really want to talk about the MCU too much because that's just been shoved in my face so much. But I'm enjoying kind of talking about the pre-MCU movies a lot.
I want to bitch about the MCU a little bit.
Okay, well, we'll get to it. But right now, did anybody watch the Punisher movie?
Oh yeah, I did.
I don't
I
know
did
if I've
not.
seen the. I don't think I've seen that. Are you talking about the original, or was there a more recent one?
Okay, so there's 3 different Punisher movies, actually. There's one from the 80s, which isn't terrible in my opinion, that stars Dolph Lundgren.
No way.
Yes.
Does it?
Yes. And like I said,
1989.
I did watch it. It's not terrible. It's kind of like the Punisher was the only Marvel character that really worked as a movie in the 80s, just because it's kind of what every 80s action movie was at the time. So,
Oh my god, it actually is him.
yeah. But then there was
That
a
is
2000
hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a 2004 movie though, which I think is maybe the more
John Travolta is in this movie. I had no clue about this fucking movie.
yeah, he's the bad guy.
Oh yeah, it's the one I saw is
Yeah.
the 2004 one.
So
I have
recall
not
the
seen this
2004 one
movie.
being really good.
The
I actually
internet
have-
doesn't agree.
Now, when are we going to talk about a really good film? 2007's Ghost Rider.
We'll get to that.
We're getting
talk
there.
About
We're
2010's Punisher Warzone.
So I have a funny story about the Punisher
Yeah.
movie. So you know the part where the dude gets like the icicle and is like
Oh yeah.
the dude's he's like torturing him with it.
It's a blowtorch, but it's just a popsicle.
Yes. Well, I don't recall what the whole incident was about, but my uncle and one of his friends did that to me, and it's fucking scary. It works because I was freaking the fuck out. They were interrogating me about something, and they strapped me to a chair, blindfolded me, and they actually did it. And they were dying laughing as I'm being. It's terrible. It works though.
Okay, hold
That's
on.
absolutely messed up.
Brandon, Dan, can we just talk about something real quick? Are you noticing a trend of whenever we do a podcast, the subject of torturing Derek via ice seems to come up?
Yeah, I didn't realize that was such a big theme in Derek's life.
I don't put it in my drinks. That's why I say no ice.
Well, yeah, because you put it up your butt.
Okay, we could talk. Do we want to talk about Ghost Rider? I know we were about to bring that up.
I'm here to talk about Ghost Rider every day of my life.
So here's my thoughts of the Ghost Rider movie. I wasn't really satisfied. Okay, you guys go.
All right, what do you mean by you weren't satisfied?
I'm with Brandon. What do you mean by that?
I was not happy with the film.
You mean a modern masterpiece?
Yeah, I know. I had read, actually, I think like maybe 2 Ghost Rider comic books before seeing the movie. So I was hardly an expert, but based on those 2 comics, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really edgy movie. This is going to be really badass. And then it was incredibly...
Then you saw Nick Cage.
And had some of the worst CGI imaginable.
And Nick Cage made that movie a billion times better. That is one of my favorite Nick Cage movies.
I think I would enjoy it more watching it again, just now that the disappointment... Because, like, in my head, as a teenager, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be such a badass, edgy movie. And then I'm like, oh, man, this is the Spawn movie all over again.
To be fair, I feel like at the time, because wasn't Ghost Rider only PG-13?
Yeah.
Because for some reason at that time, they were just like, we can't make an R movie. It only has to be PG-13.
Yeah, that happened with the Spawn movie, too. Spawn is a very graphic, violent comic book. It should be R-rated, but... They made it PG-13 because they got to get that wider audience.
I forget that Deadpool actually was the very first R-rated superhero movie.
What?
Deadpool it might have been the first MCU R-rated superhero movie, but Deadpool was the first R-rated superhero movie.
I mean, Deadpool's not even an MCU movie, technically. It's separate.
It's now technically Marvel because of...
talking about Blade earlier.
Isn't Blade, like, adjacent as well?
I mean,
you said superhero movie, so.
Well, aren't vampires superheroes?
What is your point that you're?
Art vampire. I'm also confused.
I don't know.
Now.
I have no clue.
R-rated superhero movie. That's just.
What is the first? I thought it was. What is the first R-rated superhero movie?
The Toxic Avenger came out in 1984.
Oh my fucking god! I've never actually watched that movie. I've wanted to see that movie.
I have the 4 movie collection here at home. You should come over. We'll have a marathon.
They're pretty good.
We'll watch it in preparation for the Peter Dinklage remake.
Oh my! He's remaking that movie?
He's playing the Toxic Avenger.
What?
Yeah, and when I say he's playing the Toxic Avenger, I mean not like the Melvin, the guy before when he's all nerdy. I mean he's playing the Toxic Avenger.
I want to see that, actually.
Look up the trailer after we do this. There's a trailer out now, like a teaser. Oh yeah, and Elijah Wood's going to be the villain. It looks like it's going to be a good time.
Oh, hell yeah.
And funny enough, this is kind of on topic because Marvel did make a Toxic Avenger comic book.
So he can be in the MCU.
He could be good friends with Hawkeye and the corpse of Black Widow.
Yep.
I'm watching the Toxic Avenger trailer on mute, and I do very much want to see this movie now.
Are you watching the trailer for the Peter Dinklage one?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like
I love this trailer.
So we talked a lot about the pre-MCU movies, but let's talk about probably the greatest Marvel movie ever made, and that is the first film adaptation of a Marvel character ever. and that is the Captain America film serial from the goddamn 1940s.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I don't think I've seen it.
Really? It's so good.
I
though.
know that is shocking.
I will say I don't
Brandon,
recommend
a
it.
cinephile.
I don't recommend it, but I will say I've watched several of these film serials. They can be a bit of a chore to watch at times. The Captain America one, not super faithful to the source material, if not a shock there. But it does have some cool moments with like explosions and some decent action moments. You just have to sit through a lot of boring shit.
Oh, I'm used to that.
Right, because you're on this podcast.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, funny enough, I think Captain America was the only Marvel character to get a film serial treatment, compared to DC, which had several film serials, I believe.
Are you saying film serials?
Yeah, do you not know what a film
Yeah, like-
serial is?
No.
Okay, so like back in like the Great Depression era, before television, they did these things called film serials. They were basically like TV shows, but you would see them in a movie theater. And it's kind of like you pay your ticket to go see a movie, and then an episode of a film serial would play before the movie. And if you come back the following week, you'd see the next chapter.
Oh, okay.
I put the Wikipedia page for the Captain America serial in the general chat if you want to grab it and look at it.
To be fair, I feel like they made it because it did come out during World War II, so it kind of makes sense that they would have been like, hey, we might be able to make some cash off of this.
I thought you were going to talk about getting this very patriotic character during World War II.
I don't think they cared about that.
I'm looking through the article right now, and they overspent on it by 21%. But they spent the final negative cost was $222,000
Oh,
in
man, that's a lot of money.
1940s money. It was the most expensive of all of Republic's series, and as well most over budget. So yeah, it also was the most, I guess, at that time, it ran the most over budget of all of its projects as well.
We're learning things today.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
we're learning stuff on Wikipedia.
Well, Wikipedia is still better than an AI overview, so
That is very true.
I will say I'm surprised we talked about the Captain America film serial as much as we did, actually.
Well, I think we all kind of just like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I was more of thinking like, man, why is someone filming serial? Weirdos.
So, in terms of actually successful live-action interpretations of Marvel characters, I think the only other one pre-MCU that I can think of, it's not a movie. Technically, they did TV movies based off of it, but it was the Incredible Hulk TV show.
Oh, yeah, one with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner.
It's been a long time since I've seen like any episodes of the show, but I recall it actually being really fun.
I think I've only seen one episode of it.
I don't think I've seen any of it.
Well, I know of it because I've seen some of it growing up, but I mainly really learned about it when it was a movie with Lou Ferrigno in it, and they showed him in his outfit for that movie or show. It doesn't matter. It's not part of Marvel.
I know it from cultural references.
Yeah, I used to watch it on I think it was like TV Land or one of those things. TV Land or Nick at Night, one of those.
I think that's what I saw it on too.
Yeah, just things that just showed these old TV shows from back when my parents were kids.
I used to watch the Brady Bunch on there.
My favorite MCU characters, the Brady Bunch.
Dude, Alice was a bad bitch. She could fly.
Okay, so I was going to say that I haven't watched the Incredible Hulk TV show since I was a kid, but in recent years, they did 2 TV movies based on it, and I wanted to comment on those because they're really interesting because the first TV movie actually has Thor in it, and I think this version of Thor kind of helped create the MCU version where he's kind of like this, kind of like lovable himbo doofus kind of character. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like for some reason he's this Norse god, but he's got like this like California dude kind of vibe about his whole energy, but it's kind of funny. But I I forget the name of the movie, but it was the Incredible Hulk movie, had Thor in it, and had that kind of vibe. And then the second movie, which is called the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, that one had Daredevil in it.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah. And he didn't have the little horns on his mask, so 0 stars for that. But overall, it was a decent attempt at a live-action Daredevil. And they even had Kingpin as the villain.
Hell yeah.
If you don't know, a lot of these like 70s and 80s era Marvel movies and shows were super unfaithful to the source material. Like, they did not give a shit. Like, watch the 70s Captain America, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing with any of this? So the fact that this movie made in like the early 80s, or maybe it was, I forget when it came out, but the fact that this movie actually had Daredevil and it had Kingpin. Usually the villains don't even make it at all. It's just like, you're lucky that you're getting the superhero characters. You can't expect these TV people to read the fucking comic book and be like, okay, who are the other characters? So the fact that Kingpin was in it is kind of interesting.
That's pretty cool that they like actually tried to make it like good.
Yeah.
At least with like continuity of that.
Yeah. You know, obviously these aren't like perfect movies, but I was very entertained by them. So yeah. I'll give them a thumbs up for that.
Mostly, there's just so much. There's like, I guess like superhero market feels like super oversaturated now.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you really look into it, it's not as much as that it's oversaturated now, as much as like kind of all of the superhero movies that come out now are basically just the same in a way. They're all just too flashy.
They're consistently mediocre also, I think is.
Yeah.
They're not amazing, but they get the gist of the comic book it's based on.
It feels like Disney has done to the MCU what Michael Bay did to Transformers.
I mean, I would say they did worse just because
Yeah.
their problem is they just keep pumping them out so quickly that they can't really take time to make them actually good or new. They kind of just want to hit their same 2 films each year, or maybe like a film and a half.
The biggest problem, it's become content, not like art. So yeah, they just have to get a regular flow of content coming out in the theaters and on these streaming platforms.
And I mean, occasionally they will make things that are good, but it's so rare for that to actually happen.
Here's a little bit more of a nuanced view of this whole thing. People talk a lot about how they're just pumping out these MCU movies and they're kind of bland. It's just like a product, which is true. But I also kind of want to point out that this is kind of like history repeating itself. You could point out to a lot of trends in movies where basically the same thing has happened. Now, I will say the issue with MCU is that they're so bloated with the budget and the overstimulating CGI, blah, 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 blah. This would be more interesting if you could see me talking with my hands, but you can't. Technically, things like this have happened throughout history with Hollywood and movies. And an example I want to point to are like the Hammer horror films, which you probably don't know what those are, right?
I don't.
Okay.
They got hammers.
Hammer was a British film company that in the 50s started remaking like Dracula and Frankenstein. Like those characters, those classic gothic horror characters, had kind of been dead for a while. Like the 50s was mostly like atomic age sci-fi horror. And then late into the 50s, Hammer sort of brought back the classic gothic characters. And this is where you get the Christopher Lee Dracula from. That was those movies, basically. They started out like really classy, upgraded versions of these classic characters. These weren't just like carbon copy remakes. They did it in color for the first time. This was the first time you would see Dracula with blood dripping down his face. So it started off really strong. And then towards maybe the mid-70s, the Hammer gothic horror trend was starting to wear itself out. Like, you start off with these really great movies, and then towards the end, it's just kind of like, it was just sort of like a joke. And then Hollywood was starting to transition to like what would eventually become like the 80s horror movies. So we were kind of like getting away from gothic horror, and, you know, Hammer was just kind of like on autopilot with the stuff they were doing. I feel like we forget that because people that are into classic movies, they view Hammer films in retrospective. So these might just be movies they're nostalgic for or whatever. But I figured at the time it was probably exhausting towards the end. And that's kind of what's happening with the MCU.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Dracula because I looked up the Hammer horror films.
Yeah.
They released 7 sequels to that Christopher Lee Dracula
Yeah.
between 1960 and 1974. That is just so, like, today. Like, that is exactly what would happen today if, like, Dracula was a big product.
Right.
And it's just like, just to think that this was happening back then and it's just happening again. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
And you know what? Go back to the 30s and 40s and look at the Universal Frankenstein films, and it happened back then too.
I love it.
I look back at those Universal Frankenstein movies. Those were like a part of my childhood, and I was not around during when they were like towards the last movie, and it was like, Jesus Christ, we're doing another one. So I don't view it through that exhaustive lens. I just view it as I kind of found all those movies at once, and I love them. But now I am experiencing Marvel, and I'm exhausted with it. But I kind of wonder, like, 20, 30 years in the future, or even further in the future, are people going to look back at those and not have that sort of, like, are they going to view it through a different lens than we are right now?
I mean, I'm sure that they will to at least some extent. I think the other film series that we see that with is the Warren series, like the Conjuring, and
James
Annabelle, all
Wan,
those.
The Conjuring verse, because everything has to be an IP now. The Conjuring verse.
Well, because, I mean, it's like you got the Conjuring movies, and then you got a bunch of other shitty-ass, bland-as-water horror movies that are supposed to be connected to the Conjuring, and nobody cares 5 seconds after they're released.
And it's like some of them were good, but
the
the
first
problem
ones.
is they just kept pumping them out, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it's the same thing we were just talking about. This just keeps happening throughout history. You start off with a really good thing, and then you keep making more product out of it. Like, do you ever, like, hear about Wes Craven when he actually talks about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies that he wasn't involved with?
No, I
It
haven't.
hurts his soul that those movies even exist. Do we have more to add to the MCU discussion?
Personally, I think that the end of, like, Endgame should have been a, like, stopgap type thing, or, like, where they took a moment to step back, but it felt like it just kept chugging forward, and that is where it all got really bad. Like, I'm not gonna say the movies leading up to Endgame were all good, but, like, everything before Endgame, in my opinion, is pretty much all watchable. The stuff after, I haven't seen many of them, because they just don't entice me. Like, at this point, I'm like, I've watched so many superhero movies, and it's kind of like, I just don't want to watch another movie where someone flies from one side of the screen to the other, and then they fight someone in slow-mo, and there's 16 explosions and a Carl's Jr. ad. I guess technically we're kind of like arguing to not have superhero movies because this is what superhero movies are now. Superhero movies can be different. That's why, like, people liked the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. That's why people liked the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, excluding the second one.
I'm very selective on superhero movies I watch right now. It's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't even care about watching everything. It just, like, I still enjoy the Deadpool movies when they come out.
Yeah, like some stuff that is still in the style of current superhero movies is still good. I think the reason Deadpool is so good is because it's funny.
Yeah.
It is genuinely funny because Ryan Reynolds, I don't love Ryan Reynolds, but he is a charismatic and funny dude. He knows how to make people laugh. He is Deadpool. It's good that they had him to be Deadpool, because I don't think anyone could make Deadpool if it wasn't him.
Derek, do you remember when we saw Deadpool in theaters, like the first movie?
I do.
That was like a billion years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, it came out on Valentine's Day, and I realized.
And you took me out.
Me and you went to go see it. Yeah, we went to go see it.
Aww.
They kissed at the end.
I think my gripe with the whole MCU thing right now is their whole gimmick is to have these movies in the middle for the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, like kind of like how they make movies that aren't meant to be a good movie. They're just meant to be a commercial for the next movie.
Yeah. And that's what I hate about them, because it's like they have phases to get to the next Avengers movie. It's like, why is that a thing? Why do I have to know what this guy's doing in between the next Avengers movie?
Yeah, like each movie should just, even if it is building up to something else, it should just stand on its own. And I think that's where it starts to kind of get derivative from, like, when I was talking about like the Hammer movies and all that kind of stuff. Those old movies, they would just sort of run their course and get burnt out. Marvel is doing this weird thing where they just make movies that are just meant to be a commercial for the next movie. And that's like that is sort of like a new thing that sucks.
And I think one problem is that they don't really have competition. Like, no one else is doing what they do, or even something that's close to it, really.
I guess you could there's a few things that are close, but no cigar. Well, if you even want to count it, there's the DC movies. Like
DC isn't at that point just yet. I mean, they should be with James Gunn, but it'll definitely take them some time.
They should have been years ago, but they're just like, they're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of bad decisions.
I'll try not to talk about this too long because it's off topic, but the DC universe, it should have just been, do a solid Superman movie, do a solid Wonder Woman movie, do a solid movie of all the main characters from DC, and then build up to a Justice League movie, which is basically what Marvel did building up to their Avengers movie. Instead, they did everything in a really weird way. Like, they did a Superman movie that was tonally confused, but okay, good enough, I guess. And then immediately the next movie, Superman and Batman are going to fight, but also there's Wonder Woman, and Lex Luthor is also the villain, but there's also Doomsday, who is another villain. Like, what? Okay, we did too much already. This is your second fucking movie. What are we doing?
It does feel like it definitely introduced way too much into that second movie there. Like, they could have gotten away with having Wonder Woman come in or having Batman come in.
Yeah.
But like Wonder Woman, Batman, and two different villains was just not it, sis.
Yeah. I think it would have been a good idea to just like get rid of the other villain. Like you could have maybe Lex Luthor kind of introduce him, but don't put too much focus on him. Don't have Doomsday. Don't have Wonder Woman. Just focus on Batman versus Superman. And the only reason I think introducing Batman in that way would have worked is because it's weird to think about, but this was only like 4 years after The Dark Knight Rises. So Batman was still fresh in our conscious. We didn't need to be reintroduced to Batman. Whereas Superman, it'd been a while since we had like a really good Superman movie. You could debate the last really good Superman movie was in the 70s with Superman 2.
Was that Christopher Reeves?
Yes.
My brain almost made me say before the accident.
No, it came out after the accident.
Yeah.
Would be an interesting Superman film.
The other one I wanted to bring up that is kind of competition, but not really, because it's more of a humble competitor. Like it's definitely in third place, but it's okay. It did its hardest. Is the Legendary Pictures Kaiju universe, which is the movies with Godzilla and Kong and all that.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about them.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of know how to stay in their lane. Like they're not really trying to compete with Marvel. They're just sort of like, we know that this is a more niche audience. We're just going to make decent Hollywood versions of Godzilla and Kong and get some of these other Godzilla characters in there. There's not even a lot of movies in that universe so far. Like I could probably 2014 Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla vs. Kong, and then the newest one. I think there's literally just...
Was it Universal that was going to do a Monsters universe?
Are you talking about the
universe?
Yeah. Yeah, they were going to do the Dark Universe. And, oh my God, do we have time?
Didn't they give up after like 2 films?
Well, the Mummy was the first film, wasn't it? And it instantly flopped.
I think there was a movie before it called Dracula Untold, which was meant to be
a
standalone movie.
Yeah.
But then I think they added an ending to try and make it into a universe connected thing. Listen, the Universal monsters are like my favorite IP, basically. And they fucked up on those movies so bad. Do we have time to talk about this? The answer is no. This needs its own podcast. I have a lot to say, and I'm gonna get fucking mad about it. So we talked about like pre-MCU. We talked about the MCU. Do we have any other just like fun little things we want to talk about related to Marvel? Because I'm looking at my list that I wrote. We all had to write a list of things. Did anybody even talk about anything on their list? I'm just curious.
I think
Yes.
I talked about general superhero fatigue, oversaturation of the market. All movies after Endgame just kind of feel like nails in the coffin for the MCU.
I have one that we haven't covered.
Okay, what is it, real quick?
Which characters?
Is this the one that you guys have been fighting to talk about in the chat? Okay,
Yes.
We'll do that
Yes.
last. We'll do that. We'll do it last. Derek, do you have anything else on your list?
Just kind of more to say about the oversaturation of just the MCU in general.
Okay, did you have anything to add to that subject?
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, go on. Go for it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Here he comes.
Derek's wondering
Well-
what a podcast is.
Mad Dog Derek about to tear down the doors.
Ooh, he's gonna get him.
You see, because obviously we have grown up with these movies like since the start of Iron Man, and now it's like, as you know, it's getting oversaturated, and it's getting to the point where it's obviously very annoying. But I don't think a lot of the Marvel fans are seeing it like that, and that's what it's starting to get to my issue.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh well, no, we need to know every little bit because there's comic books. We have to do the comic books. Like, no, the fuck you don't. No, you fucking don't.
Right, I think there is something to say with even with like adapting books into movies or a video game into a movie. You definitely do not need to include every single detail from the source material. Like movies are a different thing. They don't work like that.
Yeah, it's just because this year, I think there's gonna be 3 or 4 Marvel movies coming out. That's a lot. You know what other like franchises are doing that?
None.
Probably none.
Probably.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think any.
Yeah.
It's just it's annoying, and that's just the movies. There's gonna
Oh
be
god.
3
TV
more
shows, aren't
TV
there?
shows. Yeah, and I think that's just the issue is Disney is just squeezing the life out of the MCU, but
As they do with everything.
yeah, because that's part of the other issue. Because there's been people saying, "Oh, they're doing it with Star Wars." Like, kind of get that with Star Wars a
lesser
little bit,
extent.
because they're like, "Oh, they're coming out with all these shows." I'd be like,
When's
Whoa.
the last Star Wars movie though?
"Uh,
That was the fuck.
the last of the most
new
recent trilogy."
Yeah.
Now they're like, "Oh, they have like these shows, the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian." I'm like, okay, what about the MCU? They have at least I can't even name how many. Like, they have the She-Hulk show. You know, that was a travesty, and they have. It's just getting crazy. Why? Why is this a thing?
It is mostly just about trying to get as much money. Like they could have made a good She-Hulk show, but I've only seen bits and pieces, so I can't say that they did a bad job because I've never seen it. But I know enough people have been mad about it, and like there are people who are giving valid criticism of it. And there are people, unfortunately, who are like, woman television show
Right.
bad.
It's very important, I guess, while we're getting into this, to say that there's a huge distinction between valid criticism of media versus people that are just bigots and angry about very stupid things.
Like,
So
like
wait, I can't just say show woke and that means that it's bad?
No. Fortunately,
I've stopped
Damn.
myself. I've stopped myself so many times from screeching "Go woke, go broke."
Well, I appreciate that.
There are valid criticisms of all of these new shows and movies. And what sucks is some of it gets overshadowed by the horrible reactions, like the Asmongold's of the world getting mad that someone with a vagina is a main character of a video game, of a book, of a movie, like anything. Like it gets drowned out, and I don't know. They can do a better job. A lot of it feels heartless and soulless. It doesn't feel like they care, and they don't. It's all about making $10 more every month because Johnny Appleseed in Idaho forgot to cancel Disney Plus.
I will say I do think streaming has made that worse just because they want to
Overset, like put
pump
too
out
much.
content just so you will sign up for their streaming stuff.
FOMO.
I'm very over streaming right now. I think Tubi is the only streaming service that I have an account for because it's free.
Because we're hashtag sponsored by Tubi.
Oh my god.
I would like to go on record and say I pay for every streaming service I access. I definitely do not password share, and this message has been brought to you by Netflix.
Okay, Derek, did you have anything else to say? I had a few things on my list, so I just...
I'm tired of just these MCU people.
Tired is the key word, referring to the MCU, I think.
Yeah, it's just like even with like the newer one, not the newest one that just came out, the Captain whatever Hawk.
Oh, Captain America,
Yeah,
Brave New World, or whatever.
yeah, because I didn't really have a desire to see that one, but I did want to see Craven, just not because of the superhero, because the actor Aaron Tyler Johnson, he's a good actor.
I mean, to be fair, Craven I don't think is part of the MCU.
No, it's not. It's part of the Sony Spider-Man
whatever.
universe.
Yeah.
It's a Marvel product.
Yeah.
I mean, Sony is at least doing an okay job when it comes to film. Well, actually, no, I should take that back because they do have some real bad Spider-Man. Yeah. Okay.
Well, they also fucked up Craven.
Their animated Spider-Man films are good.
Which I have not actually seen. Those.
Yeah, those are good.
Wait, you haven't seen like any of the animated ones?
No.
Okay,
they're
well
so
next time we
good.
all hang out, we're watching the first one. I think I own that one at least.
I think the issue is for me, it's hard to tell if they actually listen to like these people's plans to like make these movies, or they're just like, oh, you like this is my plan, and be like, okay, I don't give a shit, just make it.
Well,
It needs to be out.
Didn't that happen with the Ant-Man movie? They had
Yeah, they got rid of Edgar Wright because they weren't a fan of what he was planning on doing.
right. He had like a vision and was being creative, and they're like, "Whoa, we don't really do that at Marvel."
Yeah,
Which is part of the problem, is that they want all of their films to feel the same.
I get to an extent if they wanted them to all be interconnected, that they want a consistent style, but you got to break free of that a little bit. I mean, for God's sake, they made a Freddy versus Jason movie that worked fairly well, and that's from two pretty tonally different horror franchises. So you can do it, is my point.
You can do it.
you could do it.
Oh no. Oh fuck, Rob
I do
Schneider.
want to add real quick. I did watch Werewolf by Night when that came out, and
What is that?
it was like a 30-minute Halloween special based on a Marvel comic called Werewolf by Night. Kind of like a superhero werewolf, I guess. I actually I'm not familiar with the comics, but I watched the 30-minute special, and I was so blown away that the MCU understands the Universal monsters 100% better than Universal does. And it's not even close.
Are you talking about how long ago did that get
It was
released?
a few years ago.
Okay, I thought you were talking about something that came out in like the 90s or 2000s.
Oh, no, this is just a few years ago. You can watch it on Disney.
Yeah,
Plus.
it's 2022. I thought you were talking about something older, and I thought I was about to say, oh well, good luck or congratulations to you. There was a new one made in 2022.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. It was done in black and white. Kind of like they were definitely trying to pay homage to the classic horror films, which is being done less and less, and I really appreciated that, and that they had more love for the Universal monsters than fucking Universal does. It's embarrassing. So it was still just like an okay special, but it was interesting, and it was something different. So I will give them that. But again, that was like 2 years ago. I thought they were going to do, because there was also like a Tomb of Dracula comic. There was a Frankenstein comic from Marvel. I thought they were going to like do those every year. The Tomb of Dracula is actually where Blade comes from, by the way, if you're curious. So I thought they were going to do more of that, but they have not. And then I found out they did a color edition of Werewolf by Night, and I'm like, oh, fucking Christ. So it's like, okay, now we're right back to missing the point, but whatever. But I appreciated it initially when they did that. Okay, so I do have a few things. Do we have anything else to add?
Well, I didn't really get to finish my Craven thing, because the thing I had with Craven is
You were craving that dick, right?
oh yeah, I mean, Tyler Johnson. I mean, who can't? I mean,
He is hot.
once he was in ass kick ass. That's what it was. Ass kick.
People, are you tired? Are you tired, people?
It's just like my thing with Marvel is Craven was supposed to be a part of the MCU. And Craven's an interesting character. But their thing is, they're like, no, let's not put him in that. And they scrapped it. But they're like, let's just make it a standalone film. Be like, why? Like, you guys just don't make it. There's no
Venom
reason.
made money, so we have to put all Spider-Man villains in standalone movies and make them anti-heroes.
Oh, then they need to suck a dick. The only good Sony movie, of those ones, was the very first Venom.
Yeah, which I even thought was just okay, if I'm being honest.
And because the second one just felt forced. Then the newest one was just like, okay, I didn't even get halfway through it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do something else. Thankfully, the third one's the last one, because I caught the end of it, and he's like, I don't know, the dude was like, oh, I'll never forget you, buddy. And I'm like, wonder what happened. And I just went on about my day.
Yeah, I think they quickly realized that their Spider-Man connected universe wasn't really working, so I think they kind of caught it quick enough to know, all right, the other spin-off movies are failing, Venom is running out of steam, let's just wrap it up. Good.
Disney/Marvel is just like, who gives a shit? Let's just make shit. We'll just cover the bad shit with good actors like Tyler Johnson.
But that didn't that do really bad at the box office?
Did it? I just know people hate it.
Already?
I can't remember. I think
Oh,
think it flopped. It did not do good.
Definitely
I think it
flopped. I think it got like
looking it up.
13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Then it barely reached past 5 stars. Or 5 out of 10, whatever. Which sucked because I like Craven and I like the actor.
So domestic gross was $25 million. International was $36 million, a total of 61. That made $61 million. How much was the budget?
It was definitely more than that, yeah. Reportedly, it had a production budget of $110 million.
That's another problem with Hollywood's current model is they spend so much money on movies thinking they're going to be a big event film, but they just keep making nonstop, quote, big event films, and they just don't make their money back.
Sony does that in a really interesting way too, because most of these movies haven't been a hit, so I don't know why they keep spending as much as they do instead of just trying to do something smaller and more interesting.
I feel like when we make our lists, I might be on a slightly different track, and this might be kind of like a callback to when I originally did this podcast with my cousin, and our initial mindset I think was a little different. Because of you guys, your whole list is all about the state of the current movies and everything. And here's my list is we talked about the pre-MCU movies. That was the first thing on my list. The other two things are related to action figures and a Universal Studios ride.
Oh, I guess I kind of assumed that we were going to go to that point eventually. I just was waiting for it.
Yeah.
You want to talk about dolls?
Yeah, I do want to talk about dolls. Do you have a problem with that?
I got a big problem with that. That's a little gay.
When you guys were kids, were any of you action figure kids? I feel like
Yeah.
Did anybody have any Marvel related action figures?
Not really.
I didn't, but Tristan had a lot of them. I was kind of poor, so I didn't have a whole lot of action figures.
So I had.
I was really into dinosaurs.
Hear me out. We pivot right now. Dinosaur talk.
For another 2 hours.
Velociraptors
go.
are pretty cool.
I could go 2 hours on Jurassic Park alone.
I wanted to talk about a specific toy line that I was very big into, called Marvel Legends. Are we familiar with these?
No, and I don't think so.
Okay, I guess I'll just talk about them then. So I think
Do it.
technically the line is still going, but originally, for the time, very detailed, articulated figures. Like they're kind of like treading that line of a toy for a kid and more of a adult collector figure.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be like very detailed and just like you can like set them up in like poses and whatnot.
Yeah, the line is still going. I don't know if they still originally. I don't know if they still do this. Originally, when they started coming out, they included a full-size comic book, kind of based on the figure you're getting.
Oh.
Yeah, it was generally like a reprint of like a classic comic book issue. You know, if you get an Incredible Hulk figure, then there's a Hulk comic included inside. So that was kind of like neat because that was kind of like when I was getting into Marvel really big. So I saw the X-Men movies and the Spider-Man movies. So I knew about those characters from those movies. And then I started collecting toys based on the characters. But then it's like, there's like Ghost Rider got a Marvel Legends figure. It's like, oh, this guy looks really cool. I don't know who he is, but I'm going to get this toy. And then I'm going to find out who he is because there's a comic book included. So it's kind of like by collecting these toys, I was also getting more exposure and kind of learning about different characters.
Oh, yeah, because I'm looking at them right now and there's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think that it started in the early 2000s. The line started coming out. And I guess they've just...
2002.
Oh, God. Well, yeah. So they've just kept making them. I don't know if I have a lot more to say.
I know the toys that I had when I was a kid, like if they were like superhero based, was the main one I remember is like the fucking Spider-Man one with like the silly string.
Was it the one that goes on your wrist?
Yeah.
Oh, I never had
the
those.
Spider-Man
Those look awesome.
web slinger.
They need to bring those back. They keep making the
They have them.
They do?
Yeah, I'm looking at one on Amazon right now. I mean,
They have the Hulk hands, by the way.
The power of the Hulk could be yours when you need it with Hulk hands.
ooh, I did.
I did.
I had
Hell yeah.
I had multiple pairs, I think, because apparently we were baller.
That's a bit of a brag. You're really gonna flex on us right now? I didn't have any Hulk hands.
How much were they in 2003?
I mean, I'm sure if I was more into the Incredible Hulk, I totally would have gotten Hulk hands. But like I mentioned earlier, I was more of an X-Men guy growing up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about the X-Men toys for like the first movie.
Oh.
With his Wolverine's missile-firing X-Cycle, claw-slashing Wolverine cuts evil down to size. X-Men figures and X-Cycle, each sold separately.
I actually have one of those hanging on my wall right now.
I remember getting those because I used to have a whole bag full of fucking Marvel toys.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess just superheroes in general, but
I had a ton of the X-Men movie figures. That was like kind of like the beginning of my Marvel addiction for a while.
My uncle, he had the Batman bag. Like he had it was just Batman figures. It was I don't even know. There was just a bunch of Batman figures and like the villains and everything. I had a bag that was like had Spawn. Yeah, they were pretty cool.
I've owned a couple Spawn action figures in my life.
I currently have a small shelf filled with Spawn action figures. So I'm a Spawn fan for lifer, I tell you what.
You're a Spawn girly.
You Spawn lifers? What a weirdo.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite X-Men character?
Oh man. Like in general, like hold on, I gotta look up his name. It's the guy, the blue guy that can teleport.
Oh shit,
it's Kurt.
That's my favorite too.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler. I don't like the movie version of him, but I like the animated version of him.
Okay, yeah. I will say in the X-Men 2, that opening scene with Nightcrawler, that was kind of badass.
It was, but
yeah,
I've rewatched it and I just don't like the way he looks.
Yeah, he did.
Alan Cumming. I think they leaned too far into like circus performer because I know Nightcrawler at some points in his stories has been a circus performer.
Dan, who's your favorite X-Men character?
Magneto. Yeah,
there gonna be, like,
Magneto's
some-
my favorite.
Is there going to be like a depressing political conversation connected to that, or
What? Me
What happened
have a
to
depressing
Magneto?
reason? What could have possibly happened to Magneto? The character with the like saddest backstory in all of X-Men, unless there's someone that I don't know
Can I
about.
just say real quick? A few years ago, I rewatched the X-Men trilogy, like the original 3 movies. And when I was rewatching that scene in the opening of the first movie with Magneto kind of like as a kid during the Holocaust, reaching out to his parents and like him, like trying to open that fence with his powers. That scene goes so fucking hard.
Oh, that was such a good. Like there were bad parts of that movie, yes, but that like I do love those X-Men movies. Like the first 3, I would say.
Yeah. Like I
Was it 3?
I didn't like the third movie when it came out too much, but upon rewatching it,
It grows on you.
it might be because the MCU movies are going further and further away from what I see as a good superhero movie, but the third X-Men movie just felt like it got better with time. So yeah, do you want to explain why that's your favorite character?
Oh, I just so I very much do like the X-Men. I did like kind of like skirt over my like of the X-Men earlier because I very much love Spider-Man as well. I haven't even really talked about Spider-Man though. But the reason I love the X-Men and in specific Magneto, in my mind, I have always, and it is kind of this, X-Men are an allegory for queer people.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm a queer person, and growing up as a little queer boy, knowing X-Men and kind of realizing, oh, these people are different, and some of them have to hide who they are. As a young little boy hiding who he was when he started to realize what being gay was, it made me find camaraderie in the X-Men. And then when it comes to just Magneto, his story, his horrible shit that has happened to him, I resonate with it a little bit as well, and not just like of the actual stuff, like having a horrible time. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Also, with the fact that Ian McKellen,
Right.
the Magneto that I love the most, is a queer man playing a very queer-coded character. That's also why I very much love Magneto, and that's been more of as a teenager into an adulthood thing.
Right.
I did not love a Magneto whenever I originally watched the movies. I would say first time watching the X-Men movies, my favorite character probably would have been either Wolverine or Jean Grey, because her hair was shiny.
Basic.
My favorite character was Toad.
Yeah, I like Toad.
I can say as an adult, I love Halle Berry in this movie, and I love that she's like, what happens to a toad in a lightning storm? Same thing that happens to everything else. I feel so bad for her. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the first movie, but it could be the second movie, where she was kind of like tricked into it. I think it was the first movie. She was basically like, they gave her a completely different script, and then she showed up and they were like, here's your script, and it's a completely different story than from the one she signed on to. Yeah, and she couldn't back out because, contracts.
Nightcrawler's cool.
Nightcrawler is cool.
Do you guys want to talk about why Nightcrawler is your favorite?
Oh, he's blue. He can teleport. He's cool. He can fight and do all kinds of cool stuff.
I won't lie. That is kind of my reasoning.
But Dan was basic.
No.
No, that was if you said Wolverine.
Dan. Yeah, that was when I was a kid. Adult Dan is depressed.
Okay, but you
Basic
guys are
ass
currently in your
depressed
adult
bitch.
age basic, apparently.
If you like Wolverine, you're basic, unless it's the one that
complicated
He's in
for me
hell.
with the X-Men movies is that I feel like I had to keep finding a new favorite character. So like I said, Toad was my favorite character when I watched the first movie because one, I just like he was like slimy and gross and like has a monster kid. I thought that was really cool. But then that mixed with like the crazy martial arts stuff, I thought was really cool. But then of course he dies at the end of the movie, I guess. So he was not in X-Men 2. So my favorite character in X-Men 2 was probably Lady Deathstrike. Do you remember her?
I don't right off.
She was like
Hold on, let me.
she had like the claws. She was kind of like female Wolverine.
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, I
yeah, she
know.
has the weird, like tiny, not tiny, but like thin, come out of your fingernail claws.
Yeah.
She's Freddy Krueger, basically,
So
but less attractive.
As a gay man, I would say that she is more attractive than Freddy Krueger, but okay.
so
I'll need help.
she was probably my favorite character in the second movie. I just thought she was the coolest. But she did not get an action figure. They did not do a lot of figures for X-Men 2, which was bullshit.
Isn't Beast in the second one?
Beast is in the third movie.
Okay. I could have sworn he was in the second one.
And
Isn't
I
he
don't
the
think
president? Isn't he the president? Or like a senator? He's a senator.
Yeah, but I don't think I had a favorite character when I watched the third movie. Nobody really resonated with me in the same way. I think that's why I didn't like it as much when I first saw it.
Can I talk about some depressing stuff? No, I just thought it was funny. Oh well, actually, the third movie has solidified Magneto as my favorite character because of him standing up and giving the speech about how you don't get let to be turned into a normal person. They just do it. I've always been political. Sorry.
I mean, this is at least on point.
Well, that's another thing that we feel that kind of feels missing in Marvel movies is like a message. Like the X-Men movies had a message. It was don't be a horrible person, accept everybody, friendship kind of.
Oh fuck that! A lot of movies have that.
Also, bad guys bad.
All a little more nuanced with the good guy, bad guy thing.
Yeah, because like the good guys will technically do things that are outside of the law, but it's still like they are the good guys. They're not government sanctioned. They're vigilantes. But that's all superheroes, really.
I mean, we could make it more depressing if we're talking about the X-Men films. I mean, we could talk about the person that wrote them and directed them.
Or we could not.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he
I
allegedly
agree.
something, or actually
no, there
proven
is
to be?
no alleged.
Okay, I just didn't want to say yes. I didn't want to say one way or the other if there was
He's
a
child
possibility
predator,
of.
correct. Which
What was
always
his name?
a
Bryan
huge
Singer.
part. I had one more thing on my list, and that was the Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios. I don't have a lot to say about it. I just thought it was really, really cool.
Wait, what was it?
The Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios. Have you ever been there?
When did you
Orlando?
go?
Yeah, it was Orlando.
Is that the one where the Spider-Man, like the animatronic Spider-Man's jumping around?
Yeah, it's like half dark ride, half like 3D movie kind of thing, and it's really well done. So you're on like a moving cart, kind of moving through the city, and then the Spider-Man villains start coming out, and they start like basically throwing your cart around and causing chaos. Spider-Man.
I'm writing it right now.
Really?
I'm playing the video.
Your microphone must be incredible. I don't hear any of it.
Oh, it's playing over my headphones.
Yeah, I was doing a bit where I was basically saying you're literally recording the podcast while on a moving dark ride at Universal Studios.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah, you did, clearly. Yeah.
Wow, that
Sorry,
went
I
over
got-
my head too.
I guess I'm the only one that caught that.
I will say my excuse was I was watching and listening to a video while he said it. Derek was listening to us talk.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't even know. Once you explain it, it's a lot funnier.
Well, I just wanted to say
Good-
about the
good
ride.
joke.
The way the 3D
It
is
looked
done,
cool.
It feels so real. Like it feels like an animated Spider-Man jumps on your cart right in front of you, and then flies away. And there's a part where
He
like,
rubs
the
his
cart-
balls on your forehead.
There's a part where the cart is like falling off of a building, and then he like web slings it, so you're like just sort of bouncing right in front of the pavement. It's crazy.
You touch his butt.
Are you guys like just like making dirty sex jokes while I'm trying to explain this?
No, I was genuinely asking questions.
Generally asking.
Genuinely
if he touches
curious.
butt. That's a genuine
Yes, genuinely
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
We'll just get to the thing that you guys kept bugging me about earlier.
You go bang.
Which Marvel character do you want to do sex with? Go on.
I didn't want to talk about that. I'm not even sure what you're talking about, Tiernan.
Okay.
I have no
Oh.
clue.
I'll talk it with you, Tiernan. I got a list. Hold on.
Derek's just like full force. Like we're talking about this.
Okay, we'll start with Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
Go.
Wait,
This is
go off of what? You just said her
What are we
name.
talking about?
that's not even the character.
Yeah, Derek,
I know.
what's the character
The
name?
actress's name.
Black Widow.
Sure. Whatever, man. Scarlett Johansson.
this this does feel like very much not good. It feels very misogynist.
Well, I mean, I
To
assume
end
that
the
you were talking about
podcast.
guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy
I
after
would.
Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, wait, who's your guy? I want to know who your guy is.
Chris Pratt.
Groot.
Ew.
Yeah, Van Diesel.
Van Diesel. I don't know. Groot. I mean, Thor. Thor is hot. Also, Thor would seem to be a very fun person to be around.
I think I would pick Mystique.
Yeah, because she could turn into anyone, and Brandon say, "I love my wife. Turn into my wife," and then he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Haha, J.K. Turn into Janet Jameson."
And then I could have a threesome with my wife and my wife. Because I'm
That would be really fucking weird.
I mean, it might be weird
Okay,
for
can we get
her,
off of this
but not
topic?
for... Who is an actor that you would want to see play a character in the MCU? And who would it be?
Oh,
Donald Glover playing an adult Spider-Man.
It's hard to say.
It could be Miles Morales. It could be a new character. I think Donald Glover, even today, would play a great Spider-Man. He is a little too old for it at this point.
if he was younger, I would agree. Now
I would
he's
have loved
old.
to have seen him as Spider-Man. They could have definitely cast him at many points.
Can I just say I get confused sometimes? It took me a minute to process when you said Donald Glover.
He thought of Danny Glover.
I did. That's what first came to my mind.
He's just an old guy, just like I'm Spider Man.
I retire tomorrow.
I would watch that.
Danny Glover does feel like an actor that always plays a role of I retire tomorrow and then gets shot. I don't think he played a lot of roles, but I think he played at least one that happened to, and it kind of just feels like all of his roles were like that, but I know they're not.
I don't know. Timothy Chalamet seems like he would be an MCU guy.
Like, what would I want? in a
Timothy
new
Chalamet
MCU
as
movie?
Ben Grimm.
Ben Grimm, who the fuck is that?
The Thing. Just get him and then put him under so much prosthetics.
Oh my god! You
I'm
don't
cool
even
with
know
that.
it's him.
He sounds like the Elephant Man.
I think if we wanted to do a tone shift, like in terms of the MCU, get Danny McBride to play the Hulk.
I'd
I
watch
think
that shit.
He would do a great job.
If you want to have a different tone shift, have Guillermo del Toro direct The Incredible Hulk.
That would be
That's how
interesting.
you get my interest peaked again. I will admit that.
I would watch a Guillermo del Toro MCU movie. If they let him be Guillermo del Toro,
Right.
I would watch the fuck out of that. That was just a throwaway. I've never thought this thought before, but now
I mean,
that I have said it,
he has done a comic book movie
110%.
adaptation before.
Yeah, Hellboy.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've seen all of his movies, but everything that I have seen by him or with his involvement
Yeah.
is good.
Oh no! I think Jesse Eisenberg would be good as Daredevil.
He could be.
Okay, we're gonna end this podcast now. Do you have
Well-
any other things related to Marvel that you want to comment on?
I want to add one more.
Oh.
Yes.
I would bang Stan Lee as well.